Alright, what's up, dudes? Back at it. Let's do an hour. Fine, 14 start time. Let's go ahead and set our timer to 68 minutes. Okay, so last time, yesterday that is, we only did an hour. Gotta get my numbers back up. We began first pass revision, converting save logic stable save state function 3 table system to 3 file system. We stepped to line 111 in save logic pi, and I forgot to put that we created the save logic prior to making these changes in case we need to revert back to the old code. Okay, so yeah, we did that. Alright, so we're gonna pick up where we left off, probably. Like, we're certainly gonna continue working on that. So this would just be part 2. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump in. It was 111, so let's go over here. Check our extensions. Extensions need to be restarted. There we go. Now we have our notes. Okay, yeah, I remember exactly what was going on here. Let's go ahead and post this. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump. Alright, it's working. Okay, let's continue. Alright. So let's read this. We have save system pseudocode ChatGPT code for copying one database file to another. Note that the temp backup file cannot exist for this to work, i.e. it would have to be deleted prior to running this line. It would throw an error, so it would need to handle exception. And like, we don't even need this anymore. Well, we can leave the code. We can leave the pseudocode, but we don't need those notes. So this is pseudocode should copy one database file to another. Yeah. All right, and then we have the notes for the broader system. Add logic to vacuum into from save data database to save data stable database. Check to see if save data stable database exists using if OS path exists save data stable path. What is the exact syntax of, like, OS path exists? OS path exists is a function in Python's OS path module that checks if a given path exists, either a file or a directory. So you pass in a path, so it takes a string, so it has to be the path. And we can use, like, this is going to be a relative to everyone's computer. Like, it's not going to be a concrete path. It's going to be fluctuating depending on whose computer, you know, you're operating from. So we would have to use a method or something that gets the parent directory, and I think we actually already use that. Let's see. I didn't really read this all the way. Let's read this a little bit more. It checks if a given path exists, either a file or a directory. Okay. Works for both files and directories. Okay. Returns true if the path exists, false otherwise. The path can be absolute or relative. OS path is file. Returns true only if the path exists and is a file. Yeah, we don't need that. If you want to get the parent directory of a file or folder path, you can use either OS path or pathlib. Here are both options. OS path, import OS, and then we say path equals so parent equals using pathlib modern. So pathlib is the replacement. I remember looking at the difference and I didn't really see much, but use pathlib to get current working directory or current parent directory. From pathlib import path, cwd equals current working directory, and then get the parent, we would just say path.cwd.parent. Okay. So let's copy this. We might already use this. I don't think we do. But that's what we need. Alright, from pathlib import path. Let's see. CWD equals path CWD. Did we already import this? I don't think we do. So let's go ahead and import this at the top. Yeah, because this is in save logic. We don't really have anything going on here. This was line 98. There we go. So we say cwd equals path.cwd. We don't want to print it. We don't need that. And then parent directory equals path.cwd.parent. So what would we want here? For this to work on anyone's computer, we would need it to say, we would want to reference the parent directory, right? Because we're in the parent directory would be the parent folder. So if we got the current working directory, it would include the parent directory and the current file that we're calling the CWD from, but we don't want that. We want the parent directory, which would be main, I believe. Because what are we trying to get here? We're trying to get the database file. So yeah, the database file does exist in main. Now, would we want to change that in the future? I don't know. Maybe I don't. I guess we could make a database. It doesn't really matter. I don't. Let's see what the typical practice with the like if there's a agreed upon system for this. If you want the directory where the script is located, use path and then underscore file dot parent. a second. Get the parent of the current working directory. Hold up. Let's see. Because I want to make sure I understand this correctly. Let's go to test files and test reminder. Let's bring this down here. Alright, paste that in. Whoa. What are we gonna do? We're gonna import from pathlib, import path. Isn't that what it is? Okay, I think so. And then we do cwd equals path.cwd, and then we want to print the cwd, and then we have the parent directory, which is path.cwd.parent. Or in this case, we could just do cwd.parent. We don't have to do because we already have cwd assigned. Yeah. Alright, so let's run this and see what our output is. Okay, so the... Well, and it also... From pathlib import CWD. Okay, so CWD would be Programming Projects Canasta. Okay, that's okay. This is because I'm not doing it the correct way. Like the watch, it's gonna change now. Now when we do PyTest reminders from Canasta testing folder, the current working directory changes. So whenever you run a script through VS Code using like F5 or Control F5 when you're within a file like this, it's not going to give you like the quote-unquote correct current working directory and stuff. It's not. That's not the way that it's gonna work like in the application. This is how it would work from the application, because at least I'm pretty sure it would, right? Because we're entering into the test folder, and well, in the case of the actual application that we're proposing, we would have it in the... This fucking light went off. Stupid ass light. Anyway, yeah, so it goes from like wherever you're running this code from, unless you're running it through the VS Code debugger using F5. So this is what the output would be. It would be deprogramming projects Canasta, and then it would be main. But in this case, since we're in testing right here, because we're operating from test reminders, the current working directory doesn't include the file name. So that's like, I kind of knew that, but honestly I wasn't positive. So now I know. CWD doesn't actually include the file name, because a directory is a folder. A directory is a folder. Yes, in this context, a directory is a folder. So the current working directory doesn't include the file. So if you wanted to include the current file, you would use path of dunder file dunder. Okay. that makes sense. I think that. Well, since we want is like let's ask also about this database being in its own folder thing. Let's see what it says about that, because there might be a like agreed upon way to do this. Let's see. It says file is available running a script from a PI file, but not in the interactive shell like idle or Jupyter Notebook. If you're in a notebook or REPL, use path resolve or CWD. Blah blah blah. Okay. Should we keep our database files in a separate folder from main, or like DB, or should it stay in main? Short answer is yes. It's a good idea to keep database files in a separate folder like DB. Reason to use the DB folder organizes, keep your project clean and structured. Okay, makes sense. I mean, I love organization. I'm all about that. Separation of concerns. It's clear that database / holds database stuff, schemas, migrations, raw SQL, or even SQLite files. Easier to manage ignore. You can add specific rules to get ignore or backups. Okay, true. True. Yeah, because honestly, we wouldn't wanna. We wouldn't even wanna add those to the GitHub. Like we wouldn't wanna commit that at all. So let me add this as a thing to do. I didn't really think about that, but it's a good idea. So we will put all DB related files in new DB directory, and then decided it would be best to do this. Consider you. Well, I don't want to put this as a. I'll put this as a different task. Get ignore database files. Save system. Since we are since we don't need to save this data, not save it, we don't need to commit or push this data, we can use get ignore to avoid this happening. Shinra Electric Power Company, baby. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that real quick, because this is something that's easy that I can do. And this will influence like the code that we're gonna have. Does that make sense? In the save logic file. So let's make a new folder. This new folder is gonna be called we'll just call it database. And we'll put the save file database here. And this means we're gonna have to modify the code. Just gonna do one thing at a time here though, but I'm gonna have to modify the code that creates this database. So this creates database if it doesn't exist. We need to make sure this gets created in the database folder now, because currently it would just create it like here. So this needs to be changed. I'm going to use 6 to represent our caution comment. And we're going to say need to modify this code so that it creates the database files file inside of the database directory, not the current main directory. Okay. And I will also just put a little note, ensure this is done for all other database files as well. Alright. Whoa. So we're going to modify this code to make it so that it creates the database file in a parallel directory called database. The current directory is, whoa, I fucked that up, didn't I? Is main. You can modify so you like to build the path using pathlib like this. Couldn't I just like couldn't I use / like this? Couldn't I say just ... which would move up to well, that would move up to main, and then we could... I'm trying to remember exactly how this syntax works. So if you're in save logic, you want to connect... So this is just pathing. So we're going to create at in the current directory the save file database. So if we want to get out of that directory, we would do ... So ... would bring us to Canasta, right? So then it would be, in this case, database / save file db. Would that work? I don't know if that would work. I don't really think it would, but I just want to see because it's really simple. It might work, but it's not the best, especially because you're using Windows style relative path, which could break on a Unix-like system. Is harder to read. I don't know if that's harder to read. That seems pretty easy to read to me. Depends on the current working directory, not the file's location. Yeah, but it's gonna be structured the same, bro. Like, we're not gonna... If they move files around, like everyone knows, you don't go move around game files. You move around game files in your game, you basically break it. Everyone knows not to do that. So it's, if we just went off of the I mean, maybe we could just do database save file. Let me try this. We're gonna test this. So let's do... back to how it was, and Let's copy this. And now we're going to open up, well, test reminder is already open, so let's go over there. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'll leave this because this is useful. So what's the syntax or the proper structure for our comment here? We put the date, then the title, and then the reminder. We don't put the date. Oh yeah, I'm an idiot. So we put the date first. That would be 4/8/25. Then we're gonna put the title, and this is gonna be get current working directory or parent directory. Yeah, a reminder that to get that the following code below using pathlib.path allows an easy way to access the current working directory / parent directory. You can comment that out and then go down here. Let's paste this in. We're going to need to import SQLite 3, and then we're going to say database equals SQLite 3.connect save file database. So first, let's just do database / save file database, and let's see what happens here. Okay. And we get an error here. First off, let's just do it regularly and ensure that it works. Okay. So there, it should exist. Well, where is it? Did it do it? Oh, see, it's because we ran it from see what I'm talking about? We used F5. That's why it created it in the C Canasta, because that's the directory that this terminal is operating from. So it's kind of weird behavior. What we need to do actually is do cd canasta testing, and then we would do pi test reminders, and now there it is. Bam, it's inside of testing. So let's do this again. We're gonna do database / and I'm pretty sure this is gonna throw an error, but let's run it again. Okay, so we get error. Syntax warning, invalid escape sequence. So that's not actually the error. That was a warning, but the actual error was unable to open database file. So let's do / database / save file, and let's see if this works. How do you avoid the isn't it, do you do double for escape sequence? There we go. Did it work? It didn't throw an error because we used our escape character apparently. There we go. It did it. Let's delete it and make sure that is the one that we just created. So let's run it again. Bam. It did. It worked. That's easy. Okay, cool. So you can do that. You just have to use the escape characters, like escape. it was thinking that the slash slash is considered an escape character within a string. So whenever you do slash and then like DB, it's looking at the next character to see what sort of operation I was trying to do using an escape character. But that's why you have to do double slash, because if you actually want to insert a slash, you have to do 2 of them, because otherwise it's going to think that you're trying to just escape from the string and do some sort of operation. So if we remove this, now it's going to throw an error, see, because the escape sequence /s right here. We have to escape first. Yeah, there you go. Alright, so this does indeed work, and I'll just leave this here, I guess. We'll just remind ourselves. This is going to be called syntax for creating database in, let's see, syntax for creating database in a different directory. Reminder that the following syntax is proper for creating a database using SQLite 3 in a different directory using ... with escape characters to accomplish this. Yeah, cool. Alright, so we got that figured out. Now we can... So we actually need to use the... Well, no, we don't even need to use the current working directory or whatever, do we? We can just do it how we just did it, which would be because this is going to be in main, so this is going to bring us from main to Canasta, and then we're going to do / for escape, and then to database, / to escape that slash so it doesn't fuck it up, and then save file database, so it should create it if it doesn't exist. There we go. And we're gonna have to do that for all the other ones. And now we can move this comment to be up here, because that one is done. So now we just have to add it to whenever we create the other database files. Ensure this is done for all the database files as well. Ensure this syntax is used for all the database files to ensure creation in the database directory. So I did verify that this works, and I'll just put a note here, verified this does work. Well, we didn't verify this. We verified this does work via we'll just put via testing in test reminders. Okay, cool. So what do we need to do now? Well, I think we can close test reminders. So we change that. Let's go over here. Put all DB related files in database directory. Get ignore DB files. Okay, so we can get rid of this task because we basically have done it. We just need to create the other databases now. So we'll put this. create other two database files. Alright, so this will be called I guess we'll just call it db2, and now it's gonna create the what's save file stable, and then we'll have save file stable backup. That sounds good to me. Save file stable, and so db2 equals SQLite3 connect db save file stable dot database. All right, now we're just gonna create the third one. So it's going to be called db3. So that's done. And now this one's going to be called save file stable backup. There you go. And we have our cursor. I don't. Like, should we call this db cursor and then db2 cursor and db3 cursor? Or should we just do cursor, cursor 2, and cursor 3? I guess we could just do cursor 2 and cursor 3. So that whenever we're dealing with or we could call it stable cursor and then stable backup cursor to be a little bit more explicit. Because we're not really going to be referencing database 2 or database 3, but we will be referencing this namespace whenever we operate. So it makes sense to have a descriptor in the namespace to you know, let us know that we're dealing with the stable versus stable backup. So I think I will do like that. We'll say cursor, say cursor stable equals db2 cursor. And now this one's going to be cursor stable backup. This would be db3 cursor. So cursor stable equals db2 cursor, and that corresponds to save file stable, and then cursor stable backup corresponds to save file stable backup, and then cursor just corresponds to save file. So this one refers to stable, and then this refers to stable backup. Yeah, I like that. That's good. All right. And we ensure that the syntax used for all the database files to ensure creation of the database directory. Cool. Yeah, there we go. Get rid of that. Alright. What's next? Okay. I guess we should do this for all three of these. That is setting the journal mode to write-ahead logging and synchronous to normal for both of the other two databases. So we'll do cursor stable, and just copy this. There you go. And then we're gonna do cursor stable backup. Wait, I messed up here. I fucked up. What did I do? Bring it back. Bring it back. I messed up. Let's fix this. Alright. Let me redo this. Make sure I can do this the correct way. Alright, so this needs to be cursor stable. So we have cursor stable, pragma journal mode equals WAL, cursor stable execute, pragma synchronous, normal, and then we just do it again, but this one we add backup to it, and then change this one to be backup as well. There you go. So that looks better. Should we just leave it spaced out like that? I don't know. Let's see how it looks all bunched up. It's probably gonna be like, I appreciate less lines, so I kind of like this actually. DB, DB2, DB3, cursor, but I actually think we should do it like this. We'll divide it up into sections. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll put divs for this. Whoops. Because that's my preferred method. I mean, blank spaces are fine too. But this kind of like lets me know. It's like a visual notifier, like a mark, you know, that I reviewed this section, sort of. That I reviewed the indentation, because the indentation of the div, it depends on, you know, whatever code precedes it or succeeds it. Anyway, create table if not exists. So we're just gonna have one table. So we're gonna be using cursor because we do. Yeah, this is gonna be a table inside of the. Inside of the save data. I'm sorry. This creates the table inside of the save file database. So we need to change the other two to create the table in each associated database file. So this would be cursor stable. And this is going to create the table if not exists, stable save data, and this is going to, yeah, so this should remain the same. The table used for loading in the last stable game state upon reconnect, and this one will just say the unstable, constantly updated database table. Periodically copied to stable at save checkpoints. There you go. Okay, so then we have cursor stable execute create table if not exists stable save data. And this is the table used for loading in the last stable game state upon reconnect. That's correct. And this is going to be cursor stable backup, and it's going to create the table called prior stable save data. But that's not technically correct. Technically, it should say because it's not necessarily the prior. It could be the prior, but it could also be the current. So we're just going to call it the stable save data backup. It's basically just going to reflect. Well, this is not in the proper order. This is save data, and then it's stable save data. So it should actually be save data stable. Damn. I use that a lot more. Why? It's not a big deal. I'm a very organized person. I like my shit to be organized correctly. So we have stable save data is going to be changed to save data stable. Yeah, so we're going to have save data, save data stable, and then save data stable backup. So that we can refer to each one of them, like if we're searching, you know? It's like we can be increasingly specific, but if we want to be general, we can just search for save data and it will show all of them. It's a tactic. It could be smart to do that. So this is going to be save data stable backup, and the table used for backup in the case that save data stable is corrupted, i.e. crash during stable save state function. Loads from this upon a reconnect. If this will be save data stable tables will completed save data bool is equal to false. This table is updated every time a successful completion of okay. And now this is gonna change this entire function. Stable save state function which creates a new stable save state in the database, transfer data from save data table to save data stable. Where are we at here? We're at the completed one. Yeah, this is all going to be changed, but it's no big deal. We can just go ahead and change these. Yes, there you go. And this is not gonna be prior stable. This should be save data stable the fuck did I just do? Stable. Okay, so I was looking at the wrong one. It was actually on the one before the greater than sign. So we have save data stable, and then we have prior save data stable, but this is going to be completely different. Okay. Now let's change all instances of this to save data stable backup. Yep, there we go. That's pretty good. Now if we go back up here, do next. Alright, let's go back up here. Okay, so let's just review this. Cursor stable backup. Bam, DB cursor, DB2, DB3, that's right. Cursor, pragma, journal mode wall, synchronous normal. Same thing for cursor stable. Same thing for cursor stable back up. That's all good. Then we just check to see if it actually set the setting correctly for the original database one. We really don't need this code. We can really just disable this because I already know it works now. Like honestly, I can just delete it because I already know it works. So we don't need to worry about that. Now we have create table if not exists, save data, create table which is associated with cursor. That's correct. Then we do cursor stable, create table, save data stable, and then cursor stable backup creates save data stable backup. So they all correspond to each other. Save file stable backup, and then same thing with cursor stable, and cursor stable backup. The way that they're named, and then save data stable, and save data stable backup table. I know that's like a tongue twister. Alright, now we can go down. Yeah, so this is not going to be any different. That's going to remain the same. What about this one? Is anything here going to be changed? No, I don't think so. I think all that's going to remain the same. And then we have, this one's not actually done yet, and stable save function. Okay, so this is going to be the one that gets a lot of changes. So now we're going to do the new way. We're going to do it the new way. We're not going to do it how we previously did it. Okay. So this is all going to be changed. Instead of inserting or replacing into, because this would previously, yeah, so this was copying insert or replace into save data. Okay, that's the checkpoint ID. And then insert or replace into save data stable all the values from, well, actually we insert in the completed save data stable bool into save data stable, which is going to stay, and then we would copy everything from save data into save data stable. So that was a table to table thing, but this is not gonna, this is gonna be different. So from here on, we're gonna be changing it. So let me put this here. Change below section so that instead of transferring from table to table, we are going from file to file using vacuum into. But this will influence our usage of the completed save data bool potentially. Well, not necessarily. Yeah, we just have to use the proper cursor, and we would insert it into that database file. But that's basically, like, I don't know if we're gonna use this, because we could just use the integrity check thing. Database integrity check. You can run a database integrity check SQLite using the SQLite pragma integrity check. And here's how you do that in Python. You would do blah blah blah. Result equals cursor execute pragma integrity check fetch all. Okay, if result of 0, 0 is equal to okay, then that means the database is okay. Otherwise, there's database integrity issues found. Notes, pragma integrity check runs a full check on the database structure and content. If it returns okay, your database is fine. If it returns any other messages, they indicate corruption or problems. Want a version that auto repairs anything? SQLite has no built-in repair tools, but sure number sure. Okay. Versus just using a Boolean which is false before operating on DB and changes to true after to signify it successfully finished the database modification. You're comparing using pragma integrity check to your own Boolean flag to mark successful DB modifications. What they actually check: integrity check asks SQLite itself to scan for internal corruption, bad pages, ensure structural integrity, useful for detecting low-level errors. Doesn't track whether specific write operation succeeded. It checks global database health. Boolean step: you control this. Marks whether a logical operation completed. Good for signaling your own logic's correctness, not database structure health. Use both when needed for different concerns. Use a flag or try except for tracking whether your transaction completed. Use pragma integrity check if you want to detect corruption. You doing backups, migration, or regular files may be tampered with. Okay. But if I'm just checking to ensure it didn't get corrupted, and if it got interrupted during a DB operation, wouldn't that mean integrity check would do all that I ask for? Yeah, sure, absolutely right. If your primary concern is to ensure the database hasn't been corrupted due to an interrupted operation like crash profile, using integrity check is exactly what you need. The text corruption of the database was interrupted during an operation. Integrity check will catch any corruption in the structure or data. Works after any interruption. If database was altered but not properly closed or committed. If database was altered but not properly closed or committed, SQLite integrity will check which complete writes or broken internal structures more likely believe like moving like only tracks logic won't tell you if something went wrong in the database itself. Integrity check actually checks the health of the database. Every use case you can use integrity check. Ensure the DB is not corrupted after any operation. You need to manually track the success value of every operation with a Boolean flag. Here's how that would look. Okay, so we would do perform DB operation, connect to the database, insert into blah blah blah, and then right after we would just do cursor execute pragma integrity check fetch all, and if result 0, 0 is equal to okay, database corruption detected. Wait, if it's not equal, if it's not equal to, so we just change this to if it's equal to okay, then we would continue. Okay, cool. Let's copy this and I'll put another note here. Let's put this note. We'll say, where should we put this exactly? I'll paste this, and then let's put it right here, because this is going to happen. Well, this is going to happen. It's fine. We can just leave it right here. Add logic. We're going to change this to say add logic to check integrity of database after copying from one to the other of the updated database after copying from one to the other ensures it is stable / not corrupted. I'll just put a note. This will replace the completed save data pool altogether. Alright, so let's add that as a thing to do over here. The fuck? Why is it? I don't know. Alright. Completed data pool. Okay, so we're almost done here. 5 more minutes left, 6 minutes actually. Let's see if I can finish this real quick. Okay. So pseudocode ChatGPT for copying from one database. If OS path exists. Okay, so we do need to. This is actually gonna. We're not gonna use OS path exists. Didn't we say? Wait. Well, this is a different. This is a different function. Like this is a different task. OS path exists of the temp backup. OS remove. Must be removed. Must be removed, deleted for vacuum into to work. Yup. Add logic to vacuum into from save data database. Check to see how to get parent direct. Check to see if data exists using. Yeah, so we're gonna do that, but this is how to get the parent directory. We don't. Well, we would just use CWD, right? We would say if we wanted to check the. If we want to see if a database file exists, then we would use if ospath.exists, and then the path we would pass in would be CWD, which would give us, in this case, main, and then we would do ... database. Basically the same thing we did up here when we created it. Is that right? I think that's right. I believe it is. Yeah, so first off, we're gonna add logic to vacuum into from save data database to save data stable database. And to do that, we would first need to check to see if the save data stable database exists. Because if it does, we would have to delete it first. But before we delete it, we would create a copy. We can get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. Well, let me see something. Paste this in. And then we would just do path.cwd, and then we would then say from, wait, that's not right. Well, could we just do it like that, using if OS path exists, and then we would pass this string to it? I feel like that would be the way to do it. Am I wrong? I don't think I am, because this is already saved in our test reminders, so we actually don't need this. But I think we can use. So let's go ahead and add this. This will be our line of code, not pseudocode, and we're gonna say if os.path exists, and then we just pass this string in. So if this path exists, but this is actually wrong. We need to check for save file, not save file. It's called save data stable. So save data stable. Yeah, because we're checking to see if save data stable database exists. So if os.path exists, bam. Alright, and we need to test this line. Yeah, I know it's a lot of ugly, it's a lot of ugly. Let's say 4825 needs to be tested in test reminders by we'll say syntax. Alright, and this is where we're gonna stop. 4825. Alright, there we go. Now let's go ahead and so this is line 106 in save logic. So let's go over to devlog. We'll just put, the fuck did I do? I just hit the button. Six two six. That's Stitch. Stitch was 626, baby. So we went to 624. And we continued. We'll say continued first pass revision converting save file system. Yeah, there we go. 514 to 624, and then right here we're going to. It's gonna be 625 to 626. We're gonna stage commit those changes. Oops, I forgot to fill that out. So this was an hour and 12 minutes. So we'll just say an hour and 15, so 1.25. Close enough, right? Okay, so now we need to cd out to the root of the project, the root directory. So that's what we have done. This ensures all the files below it get added. If we were to commit from that testing directory, it only would have included that scope. Anything like above it wouldn't be included, only what was below it. So that's why you have to move up to so the commit umbrella captures everything below. So in this case, we would do git branch to make sure we're on the right branch. You always want to check that. We're on the correct new feature branch. Now we do git add dot to just add everything, and then we're gonna do to stage it, and then we're gonna commit -m double quotes, paste this in the devlog, which has our title as save system stable save state function revision part 2. And then the date, the time, and the details of what we did and where we stopped at. So there we go. We successfully committed. We had 6 files changed, 61 insertions, 29 deletions. We deleted save file database in main, and we created it in testing. And we can actually delete that because we're never going to use it. That was just for testing purposes. And alright, now we need to git push to upstream the remote GitHub repository, and that's successfully completed. So now we can exit out of this. We can go, where are we going here? Alright, go over here to programming, go to projects, go into Canasta, copy the little one, go back out to backup, we'll delete that one, paste in the new one, and enter into it. Go to text, devlog, all the way to the end, and there you go. 4825, that is today. So now we just back out to the folder, the backup folder, that is, rename it. Why did my computer just like do that? Something weird just happened. Anyway, there you go. Canasta backup 4825. That's all done, and yeah, so we made pretty good progress. I'm happy with it. Really tired. I'm gonna go to bed early tonight, so my fucking back started hurting all of a sudden. So yeah, anyway, pretty good progress. We're basically done converting from the from the 3 table system to a 3 file system, and like we'll almost certainly finish that tomorrow, and then we're just gonna give like one final review of it, and yeah, make sure everything's right. And what do we need to do after that? Well, the next thing after that, well, I think then we're basically like done with the outer framework for the save system. I mean, like the entire framework, really, like the frame of it. We just have to go and add all the specific reconnect logic for, like, we have to add in all the different checkpoints, which we kind of deviated from that. We started to do that, and then I kind of realized, like, you know, I needed to do this first. But anyway, all right, have a good day. See you probably tomorrow. That's the goal, to get some more hours in. I just haven't been sleeping right. So I only slept like 3 hours last night. Probably slept like 5 hours the night before that. So I'm like so exhausted. It's hard for me to even code at all. just from being so tired. So anyhow, hopefully I get good rest tonight, and I'll be able to do at least like 3 hours tomorrow to get back on that 3 hours per day schedule.